Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound Podcast Best Bets video for UFC 320. Alex Pereira taking on Ankalaev in the main event. And we absolutely crushed last week on our Best Bet Slam of the Week. Every single play on the board other than the chalk parlay hit. And if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button as we talk best bets, money lines, plays, parlays. We've got it all here for you. We've got it covered. And kicking things off, we have the slam of the week. And kicking things off as the first leg, we got Youssef Zalal here. I think Youssef Zalal can dance around on the outside against Josh Emmett. Emmett always looks to land power shots. He wants to plant his feet and throw big bombs. Youssef Zalal showed in his previous fight against Calvin Kattar that he can dance around on the outside. He can pretty much fight boring if he wants to. Just jab, low kick, maybe even mix in some grappling if he wants to. And I think that Youssef Zalal here is the much faster fighter. I think he's the new breed. The UFC is obviously pushing him against ranked opponents. And I think that he wins this matchup. I think he wins boring here. I don't think Emmett's going to be able to touch him with the power. And I think the speed discrepancy here is going to be enough for Youssef Zalal to win for the first leg here of our confident slam of the week. The one that I put the most money on. And I know you see it, Patchy Mix is the second leg. I'm ready to be hurt again, guys. We saw Patchy Mix have a pretty stinky performance in his first fight inside the UFC. He didn't want to grapple. He wanted to stand there and kickbox with a better kickboxer. And I think that this matchup here against Jakub, or however you're pronouncing that name, Wisłaski, I think he comes in here, and I think that this is an ideal stylistic matchup. I think Patchy Mix is the much better grappler. His opponent wants to come in and grapple. He looks pretty much to take fights to the ground, and he's pretty much a submission specialist himself. I think this is a great matchup. The UFC knows what they're doing here to give Patchy Mix a win inside the UFC and push him. I think this fight ends up on the ground. I think Patchy Mix finds a submission or at least wins most of the grappling exchanges here to ultimately win a decision. I think he's going to get the submission here for the second leg of our confident slam of the week. And for the third leg, we have Farid Basharat to round us out here to get us to almost even money. I think here the undefeated confidence, the grappling here, Farid is going to be enough. We've seen with Gutierrez in his previous fights that he does get his back taken. He does get out grappled at times. I think if this plays out on the feet, that Basharat has got enough striking to be able to hang with Gutierrez. He just needs to be mindful of that calf kick. But I think, realistically, he's going to come in here and grapple. He's going to look to wrestle against Gutierrez here. Constantly wrestling for 3 straight rounds, getting the unanimous decision victory, and that's going to be the slam of the week. Rounded out, 3 confident legs here. Hopefully Patchy Mix doesn't screw us like he did last time to round us out here for the slam of the week. And the second parlay we have here, we've got the chalk parlay. Some of the more heavy favorites on this stacked UFC 320 card. And kicking things off, we've got Macy Chasson. I think that she's just too big here for Santos. I think wherever this fight goes, that Macy's going to have success. And if at any moment she gets into danger, I think she's just going to clinch up, be the bigger girl, mix in the grappling, hold her against the fence, stomp on her feet, knee her to the thigh. She's going to make it really boring. Yeah, and I think she's going to elbow her a lot here inside the clinch and just use that size and that frame that she's got. And when you see Santos in her previous performance against Miesha Tate, it didn't really fill me with a whole lot of confidence as she was able just to defend takedowns and really just have a very low output on the feet. I think Macy Chasson here is going to be too big in the clinch, getting a lot of takedowns or at least a lot of top control, and ultimately win here, just being the bigger, more physically dominant woman here for the chalk of the week, chalk parlay, I should say. And for the second leg, we have Merab Dvalishvili. I think why not keep riding the Merab train? The guy's an absolute machine. He's a machine for a reason. I think he can mix in some grappling here against Sandhagen. Although Corey Sandhagen does have that, flying knee knockout on Frankie Edgar. That's a great weapon he can use here against Merab. I do think that Merab is just a force to be reckoned with. He's got enough striking here to be competent on the feet, and he can push the pace. We saw with the fight against Piotr Jan. Jan is a much better striker than Merab is. Corey Sandhagen is a much better striker than Merab is, but it doesn't matter when he's constantly coming forward, constantly having to, go after takedown relentlessly. He's a very tough opponent to be able to face, and I just don't think that Sandhagen here is going to have the wrestling or the cardio to be able to stop Merab here. I think we see Ann still for the second leg of our chalk parlay. And to round us out to get to even money, we've got Gutierrez. Gutierrez, he's fighting opponents here that, have got absolutely no chin. Short notice, step-up replacement from the regional scene. The guy's been knocked out in all 3 of his losses. The UFC knows what they're doing. They're giving Gutierrez another layup. It's going to be another knockout, rounding out here for the chalk parlay with Gutierrez getting the knockout, just taking in money line here, and that's sitting at around plus 102 for our chalk parlay of the week. And next up for our money line play, we have Joe Sang Yu. And I think this one's kind of crazy to me. I think Daniel Santos should be the underdog. I think that we've seen with Yo that he's pretty talented. Very, very, very skilled striker. Can keep fights on the feet, spinning wheel kicks, step back, counter right hands. This guy looks impressive. I think this guy's the real deal. So get him in at plus money is kind of crazy to me. Daniel Santos, obviously 3-1 inside the UFC. I do think that he can mix in takedowns. I do think that he is an impressive fighter. But I think when it comes to the striking, the speed, the counter striking ability here of Yo, I think that he can really have a lot of success, especially with the counter step back right hand that we saw in his previous fight. Santos, obviously a very, very aggressive style Brazilian, likes to come forward, likes to get into the clinch, likes to mix in grappling. And I just think that Yo is just going to be ready for him here. I think that either way that you look at this fight, he's got the striking, he's got the takedown defense, and I'm very impressed with him. I think getting him at plus money here is an absolute bargain, so sign me up for our best bets here. Moneyline play on Joe Sang Yu or Yo. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but we're getting him here at plus money. I like him as the underdog. And you know what we have to bring up next? We've got the dog of the week, looking to make it 2 in a row. And for this week's dog of the week, if you haven't seen it already on the channel, it is Ramiz Brahimaj, sitting at around plus 240. I like Brahimaj in this matchup. Full highlight reel tape. I'll leave a link in the description for that video. And I like Brahimaj to make it 2 in a row. We had Cam Roston last week getting it done against Petrovsky. Hopefully that Ramiz can get this one done here. The New York native, New York themed dog of the week to cash for us to make it 2 in a row. And we're sticking with the Ramiz Brahimaj train here for our prop. We've got the round 1 Brahimaj. We've seen with him in his last previous fights, guillotine round 1, knockout round 1. The guy is on an absolute tear since he's had that neck surgery. He's looked brilliant. The power in the hands, the submission game is there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up pulling off another guillotine here against a wrestler in Vanderford. He likes to come in and mix in takedowns. I think on the feet as well, Brahimaj has got the power in the hands to test that chin of Vanderford, who's the older fighter at this point, 35 years old. In a few of his losses, he has also been knocked out as well. So I do think that there's a path here where Brahimaj keeps that round 1 train of knockout or submission here. That's why we're going to take him round 1 plus 650. I think that's great odds for a guy that likes to come out aggressive, will look to go for the finish early. The guy's very talented. Travis Luda, BJJ, obviously a former training partner of Bilal Muhammad when it comes to the wrestling, and he's demonstrated that he can knock people out with the hands. And as always, I have to let you guys know what is here on the channel. As I mentioned, the dog of the week, Brahimaj this week. Check that video out, full highlight reel tape, along with why I like him in a little bit more detail for this matchup. And we have the full card breakdown for UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Pereira. Looking forward to this pay-per-view. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. We did well last week, looking to make it 2 weeks in a row. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.